The crowd's noise fell away the moment her voice cut through it, clear, unafraid, and ringing like a bell against iron. "Buy me, cowboy." Heads turned. Dust hung in the air. And the man she was looking at, broad-shouldered, weathered, eyes carrying more sorrow than steel, stopped as if the earth itself had held him still. She stood on the wooden platform with her chin lifted, wrists bound but spirit unbowed. The traders had dressed her to attract attention, but they could not disguise the strength in her posture or the fire in her eyes. She was an Apache woman, 24 years old, known among her people as Nalan, meaning, the one who endures. Her beauty was undeniable, but it was not the softness of her face that commanded the space, it was the courage with which she met the world's cruelty without lowering her gaze. When she spoke, she did not beg. She chose. The man she called to was named Samuel Cole. 38, widowed, and worn thin by years of drought, war, and regret, he had come to the frontier market to sell cattle hides and buy supplies for a ranch that barely survived. He had not come to look at people on platforms. He had not planned to stay. But her words pierced him, not with desire, but with a terrible clarity. This was wrong, and he was standing in the middle of it. Samuel's eyes met hers, and in that instant, something ancient and human passed between them. He did not see a possession. He saw a person asking for a chance. Around them, traders laughed, buyers whispered, and the auctioneer smirked, ready to turn her bravery into profit. Samuel felt his jaw tighten. He had learned long ago that silence was often safer than speaking, but he had also learned the cost of staying quiet. The bidding began. Numbers were thrown into the air like stones. Nalan stood steady, her heart pounding, knowing every call could chain her future tighter, or open a door she might never see again. She had watched men before, learned to read them quickly. Samuel's eyes did not roam her body like the others. They searched her face, as if asking a question he did not yet know how to speak aloud. When the final call echoed, it was Samuel's voice that ended it. The hammer fell. The market exhaled. And suddenly, the world shifted. He paid without celebration, without pride. When the trader shoved the papers toward him, Samuel signed them with a hand that trembled, not with excitement, but with resolve. He approached the platform slowly, as if any sudden movement might shatter the fragile moment. When the guards pushed her forward, he raised a hand. "No," he said quietly. "Untie her." They laughed, thinking it a joke. He did not smile. After a pause heavy with disbelief, they obeyed. The ropes fell away. Nalan rubbed her wrists, surprised not by the freedom itself, but by the gentleness with which it was given. They walked away from the market side by side, not touching, not speaking. Dust clung to their boots. The noise returned behind them, but it no longer mattered. Nalan kept her eyes forward, waiting for the truth of what came next. Samuel led her to his wagon and handed her a canteen. "You don't belong to me," he said, his voice low. "You never did." She looked at him then, really looked, at the lines carved by grief, at the steadiness beneath the wear. "Then why buy me?" she asked. "Because I couldn't leave you there," he answered. "And because you asked." The journey to the ranch took 2 days. The land stretched wide and empty, broken only by scrub and sky. They spoke little at first, each carrying their own wounds. Samuel told her about his wife, lost to fever, and the child they never had. Nalan spoke of her tribe, scattered by violence, of a world that had taught her to be strong because weakness was punished. When they reached the ranch, it was smaller than the markets had promised and rougher than any home Nalan had known. The house leaned slightly, as if tired. Samuel gestured toward it. "You can stay here," he said. "Or you can leave. I'll give you food, a horse, and directions to the nearest town. The choice is yours." Choice. The word settled into her chest like warmth after cold. She considered the horizon, the risks beyond it, and the man before her who had done something rare, not heroic in stories but right in truth. "I'll stay," she said. For now. Life on the ranch was hard but honest. Nalan worked alongside Samuel, not because she was told to, but because she wished to. She learned the rhythms of the land, he learned the quiet strength of her presence. Trust did not come quickly. Some nights, memories woke her in fear. Some days, Samuel wrestled with the weight of what he had been part of simply by living in that world. But they spoke. They listened. And slowly, something new took root. Challenges came as they always did. Neighbors questioned her place. Traders returned, suspicious and angry, accusing Samuel of breaking unspoken rules. Once, a man threatened violence, claiming ownership that no longer existed. Samuel stood his ground, rifle lowered but voice firm. Nayland stood beside him, unafraid. "She's free," Samuel said. "And she stays because she chooses to." The seasons turned. Crops improved. The ranch stabilized. Nayland began teaching Samuel words from her language. He taught her to read from the few books his wife had left behind. In the evenings, they sat on the porch, watching the sun bleed into the horizon, sharing silence that no longer felt empty. Love did not arrive suddenly. It grew, careful and respectful, built from trust rather than rescue. When Samuel finally spoke of his feelings, he did so without expectation. When Nayland returned them, it was with certainty born of freedom, not obligation. Years later, people would tell the story wrong. They would say she was saved, or that he was brave. But the truth was quieter and far more powerful. A woman demanded to be seen. A man chose to listen. And in a world built on taking, they built something on consent, dignity, and choice. The message carried forward long after the dust of that market settled. Freedom begins the moment someone is treated as human, and endures when that humanity is honored every day after.